This is the story of Alex, a 30-year-old man from Los Angeles who thought his life was just beginning. But one night, a freak car accident changed everything. For a few harrowing minutes, Alex was clinically dead, but what he experienced during that time defies explanation. He claims he met Jesus, who showed him visions of devastating wildfires engulfing Los Angeles and warned of the consequences if humanity doesn't change its ways. Alex's story is more than a near-death experience. It's a message of hope, a dire warning, and a call to action. What he saw will shock and inspire you. The night began like any other. Alex was finishing up a long day at his tech job in downtown Los Angeles. The office buzzed with deadlines and coffee-fueled chatter as the sun dipped below the skyline. Alex packed his laptop bag, waved goodbye to his colleagues, and hopped into his car. He was running late for dinner plans with friends at a trendy restaurant on Melrose Avenue, so he decided to take a shortcut through side streets to beat the traffic. As he drove, Alex's mind wandered. He thought about his career, his plans to buy a condo, and the weekend trip he had scheduled to Big Bear. He barely noticed the speedometer creeping up as he accelerated to make a green light. What he didn't see was the other car, an SUV barreling through the intersection after running a red light. The collision was violent and sudden, the screech of tires and shattering glass cutting through the night. Alex's car spun out, slamming into a lamppost before coming to a stop. His head hit the steering wheel with a force that sent everything into darkness. Witnesses called 911, and paramedics arrived within minutes. Alex's pulse was weak, his breathing shallow. By the time they loaded him into the ambulance, his heart had stopped. Alex wasn't aware of the frantic activity around his lifeless body in the ambulance. Instead, he found himself in a place that felt both alien and familiar. At first, it was dark, an all-encompassing void that seemed to stretch endlessly. But then, a pinprick of light appeared in the distance, growing larger and brighter with every passing second. It wasn't like any light Alex had ever seen. It was warm, soothing, and magnetic, pulling him toward it. As he moved closer, Alex felt a strange detachment from his earthly worries. The deadlines, the condo, the weekend plans, all of it faded into insignificance. He was weightless, his consciousness unburdened by the physical world. Then the light enveloped him, and Alex found himself standing in a place that defied description. It wasn't heaven as he had imagined it, but it radiated peace and love. The air itself seemed to hum with an energy that filled him with calm. Before he could process where he was, Alex became aware of a presence. It wasn't just any presence, it was overwhelming, like standing in the sun without being burned. He didn't see a face or hear a voice, but he knew instantly who it was. Jesus, he whispered, though he didn't understand how he knew. The presence radiated love and compassion. But there was also a sense of urgency, as if Alex had been brought here for a reason. As Alex stood in the presence of Jesus, he felt an indescribable mixture of awe and comfort. This wasn't the solemn, distant figure he'd seen in religious paintings. Jesus was approachable, warm, and deeply understanding. Without speaking, he conveyed a sense of knowing everything about Alex, his hopes, his fears, his mistakes. Yet there was no judgment, only love. "Why am I here?" Alex asked, his voice trembling. Jesus didn't respond with words. Instead, Alex felt the answer resonate within him. "You are here to see." With that, the world around him began to shift. The glowing, peaceful realm faded, replaced by vivid images of Los Angeles. At first, Alex saw the city as it was, vibrant, bustling, alive. But the vision quickly changed. Thick plumes of smoke filled the air, flames devouring the hillsides and creeping into neighborhoods. The sky turned a sickly orange, and the air was choked with ash. Alex tried to look away, but Jesus' presence held him firm. "This is what is coming," the message seemed to say, "unless they change." The vision of Los Angeles consumed by wildfires was both terrifying and heartbreakingly vivid. Alex saw homes reduced to rubble, families fleeing with only the clothes on their backs, and wildlife struggling to escape the inferno. The streets he knew so well were unrecognizable, buried under layers of ash and debris. He could feel the heat of the flames and the suffocating weight of the smoke, even though he was only an observer. Jesus showed Alex the causes of this devastation. He saw scenes of deforestation, unchecked urban expansion, and the careless actions of people who ignored fire warnings. But it wasn't just physical actions. Alex felt the weight of indifference, of people dismissing climate change and failing to care for the earth. The message was clear. Humanity's neglect was fueling these disasters. As Alex watched, he saw something that sent chills down his spine. A family trapped in their car, surrounded by flames. He recognized the neighborhood. It was near his own. The image shifted to a firefighter collapsing from exhaustion, unable to save the house he had been trying to protect. The despair was overwhelming, but then the vision changed. Amid the destruction, Alex saw glimmers of hope. He watched as neighbors helped each other evacuate, strangers opening their homes to those who had lost everything. Volunteers worked tirelessly, distributing food, clothing, and supplies to displaced families. Communities came together to rebuild, their resilience shining through the ashes. The vision shifted again, showing a future where people learned from the tragedy. He saw city officials implementing strict fire safety measures, planting fire-resistant vegetation, and prioritizing sustainable urban planning. Homes were rebuilt with environmentally friendly materials, and the city's power grid was powered by renewable energy. Most importantly, Alex saw people taking personal responsibility. Families planted trees, conserved water, and educated their children about caring for the planet. Schools taught students about climate change and fire prevention, fostering a generation of environmentally conscious leaders. The vision left Alex with a profound sense of purpose. He understood that while the warnings were dire, the future wasn't written in stone. Humanity had the power to change. As the vision of hope lingered in Alex's mind, Jesus' presence grew even stronger, radiating a sense of both urgency and compassion. Alex felt a flood of understanding wash over him, as though the meaning of everything he had seen was being imprinted directly onto his soul. Jesus communicated without words, but the message was crystal clear. Humanity was entrusted with the earth, and its well-being was deeply intertwined with the choices people made every day. Alex saw scenes of lush forests being chopped down, rivers polluted by waste, and cities engulfed in smog. But alongside these images of neglect, he was shown the solutions within humanity's grasp: clean energy, sustainable farming, and communities working in harmony with nature instead of exploiting it. Jesus emphasized that the earth wasn't just a resource, it was a gift, a shared home for all living beings. The responsibility was profound. Alex realized that everyone, individuals, families, corporations, and governments, had a role to play in reversing the damage. Small actions mattered as much as large-scale reforms. He saw families reducing waste, schools teaching kids about conservation, and leaders passing laws to protect natural resources. The message was simple yet powerful: care for the earth, and it will care for you. The hope that Alex felt was tempered by another wave of visions, this time showing the grim reality if humanity ignored the warnings. The fires that consumed Los Angeles in the first vision were just the beginning. Alex saw images of other cities engulfed by disasters, flooded streets in Miami, tornadoes ripping through the Midwest, and entire towns swallowed by rising sea levels. Each disaster was accompanied by the same underlying cause: indifference. Alex was shown the human cost of this neglect. He saw families losing their homes, children suffering from the effects of polluted air, and communities torn apart by the strain of recovering from one disaster only to face another. The vision wasn't just about nature's fury, it was about the ripple effects on people's lives. But what struck Alex most was the sense of regret he felt radiating from the scenes. People had ignored the warnings, dismissed the signs, and convinced themselves that the problems were someone else's to solve. The regret was palpable, and it stayed with Alex long after the vision faded. He understood that the consequences weren't abstract. They were personal, affecting everyone in deeply human ways. As the destruction faded, Alex was relieved to see the light of hope return. Jesus showed him a future where humanity chose a different path, a path of restoration and cooperation. In this vision, the streets of Los Angeles were transformed. Instead of smog and ash, the city was vibrant and green, with clean air and thriving parks. Rooftops were adorned with solar panels, and streets were lined with trees that provided shade and helped regulate the temperature. Alex saw communities working together to prevent future disasters. He watched as volunteers cleared brush from wildfire-prone areas, firefighters received advanced training and equipment, and residents participated in emergency preparedness drills. These weren't monumental changes, but they added up to a safer, stronger city. More importantly, Alex saw a shift in mindset. People began to see themselves as stewards of the earth, not its conquerors. Children learned about sustainability in school, and families made small but meaningful changes in their daily lives. Composting, using less water, and supporting local farmers. The hope in this vision wasn't just about technology or policy. It was about the human spirit and the power of collective action. In the next vision, Jesus showed Alex how leaders could inspire and guide change. Alex saw local government officials in Los Angeles working hand in hand with environmental scientists, community leaders, and even everyday citizens. These leaders weren't just focused on policies. They were focused on people, listening to their concerns, empowering them to take action, and making decisions that balanced progress with preservation. One scene stood out to Alex. The mayor of Los Angeles holding a town hall meeting where residents shared their ideas for wildfire prevention and disaster preparedness. The mayor didn't just talk. They listened, taking notes and promising to implement the best suggestions. It was a moment of genuine collaboration that left Alex feeling hopeful. Jesus emphasized that leadership wasn't just about politicians. In the vision, Alex saw teachers inspiring their students to care for the planet, business owners adopting eco-friendly practices, and even neighbors organizing community cleanups. Leadership, Alex realized, could come from anyone willing to step up and make a difference. The final vision Jesus shared with Alex was perhaps the most personal. He saw himself back in his own life, standing in his small apartment in Los Angeles. But this time, he was different. He wasn't just going through the motions of daily life. He was intentional about every choice he made. Alex saw himself walking to the local farmer's market instead of driving to a big box store. He noticed his own hands planting a tree in a community garden, surrounded by smiling neighbors. He watched as he turned off lights, conserved water, and encouraged his friends to do the same. These small individual actions seemed insignificant at first, but as the vision expanded, Alex saw how they rippled outward. His actions inspired his friends, who inspired their families, who inspired their communities. The message from Jesus was clear. Personal responsibility wasn't just a moral obligation. It was a powerful tool for change. Everyone had the ability to contribute, no matter how small their actions might seem. Alex understood that while governments and corporations played a major role, real change started with individuals choosing to live differently. In the next vision, Alex saw a profound image. Humans and nature intertwined like branches of a single tree. Jesus revealed the deep connection between the two, a bond that had been forgotten by many. Alex saw how every action humans took, whether positive or negative, rippled through the natural world. The vision showed pristine forests flourishing where people had once overfarmed and polluted. Rivers that had been choked with waste ran clear again, teeming with life. Wildlife returned to areas once thought lost, and the earth seemed to breathe anew. It wasn't a miraculous event. It was the result of choices people had made. Jesus shared a powerful truth. When you harm the earth, you harm yourself. But when you nurture it, you thrive together. Alex saw this connection vividly. Healthy soil produced nourishing food, clean air gave people vitality, and green spaces brought peace and joy to communities. The balance was fragile, but it was achievable. Alex realized that humanity's fate was inextricably linked with the planet's well-being. By honoring and respecting nature, people could find harmony not only with the world around them, but with each other. The tone of the vision shifted again, this time to a stark warning. Jesus showed Alex what would happen if people ignored the signs and warnings. It wasn't a single catastrophic event, but a slow unraveling of the progress humanity had worked so hard to achieve. Alex saw neighborhoods in Los Angeles that had been rebuilt after wildfires, only to be neglected over time. Overgrown brush and debris created new fire hazards, while once vibrant communities became complacent, believing they were safe. The sense of unity and purpose faded, replaced by the same divisions and indifference that had caused the problems in the first place. The consequences were devastating. Fires returned, stronger and more destructive than before. Entire neighborhoods were lost, and the people who had once worked together now blamed each other for the failures. The Spirit's voice echoed in Alex's mind. Progress is fragile. It must be tended like a garden, or it will wither. This vision shook Alex deeply. He understood that the fight for the earth and for humanity's future wasn't a one-time effort. It was a continuous commitment. The warning stayed with him, a reminder of what was at stake. Just as the warning threatened to overwhelm Alex, Jesus showed him another vision, one of hope and resilience. In this vision, Los Angeles had rebuilt itself into a city of sustainability and innovation. Homes were designed with fire-resistant materials, and green roofs covered the skyline. Communities worked together to create buffer zones that protected homes from wildfires, planting fire-resistant vegetation and clearing brush regularly. Alex saw people coming together in ways that inspired him. Neighbors shared tools and resources, firefighters were better equipped and supported, and community leaders held regular preparedness events. The fear that had once gripped the city was replaced by a sense of empowerment. What stood out most to Alex was the spirit of collaboration. He watched as people from all walks of life, young and old, rich and poor, worked side by side to create a safer, stronger city. Jesus emphasized that this wasn't the work of a single person or organization. It was the result of everyone taking responsibility and contributing in their own way. In the next vision, Alex saw how faith and spirituality played a crucial role in the rebuilding process. People from all backgrounds came together, not just to pray but to support and uplift one another. Churches, mosques, temples, and other places of worship opened their doors as shelters, community centers, and hubs for organizing relief efforts. Jesus showed Alex scenes of people meditating in parks, finding solace and strength in nature. Spiritual leaders encouraged their communities to see environmental stewardship as a sacred duty. The connection between faith and action became clear. Spirituality wasn't just about belief. It was about living those beliefs through compassion and care for others and the planet. Alex was particularly moved by a scene of a diverse group of people holding hands in prayer, their voices rising together in hope and unity. It was a reminder that faith could be a powerful force for bringing people together, bridging divides, and inspiring change. As the visions began to fade, Alex felt himself being pulled back to his body. The light around him dimmed, and he became aware of a dull ache in his chest and the distant sound of beeping monitors. He opened his eyes to find himself in a hospital room, surrounded by his family. His mother was holding his hand, tears streaming down her face. "You're back," she whispered, her voice filled with relief and gratitude. Alex's body was weak, but his mind was racing with everything he had seen. He tried to explain, but the words wouldn't come. The experience was too vast, too profound to put into simple terms. Over the next few days, as he recovered, Alex began to process what had happened. The visions weren't just a glimpse of the afterlife. They were a call to action, a second chance to live differently. Alex knew he couldn't keep this experience to himself. He had been shown a message not just for him, but for everyone. It was a message of warning, but also of hope, a reminder that the future wasn't set in stone, and that humanity had the power to shape it for the better. After returning home from the hospital, Alex struggled to reconcile his near-death experience with his everyday life. The world seemed different. Every moment, every choice, felt charged with meaning. He couldn't look at the hills surrounding Los Angeles without imagining them ablaze, nor could he ignore the subtle ways people around him were disconnected from nature and each other. Determined to act, Alex began sharing his story. At first, it was with close friends and family. Many were skeptical, chalking it up to a hallucination caused by trauma. But as Alex described the vivid details, the presence of Jesus, the warning about wildfires, and the visions of hope, some started to listen. He wasn't preaching or trying to convince anyone. He simply wanted to share the message he believed he had been given. Gradually, Alex's story spread. Friends encouraged him to speak at local events, where he shared his vision of Los Angeles transformed by unity and sustainability. He began connecting with community leaders, firefighters, and environmental groups, offering his experience as inspiration for change. It wasn't easy. Many still dismissed him, but Alex felt a sense of purpose that kept him going. Alex realized that sharing his story wasn't just about words. It was about action. He joined local environmental initiatives, helping with wildfire prevention programs and neighborhood cleanups. He collaborated with community leaders to organize tree planting drives and educational workshops on fire safety and environmental stewardship. One memorable event was a town hall meeting in his neighborhood. Alex stood before a packed room, sharing his experience with a mix of nerves and determination. He described the warning Jesus had given him, the destruction he had seen, and the hope for change if people acted together. By the end of his speech, the room was silent, filled with a collective resolve to do better. Alex's story also gained traction online. He started a blog and social media accounts where he shared tips for reducing wildfire risks, conserving water, and living more sustainably. His posts weren't preachy. They were practical, relatable, and rooted in his personal journey. Slowly, his audience grew, and messages from people inspired by his story began pouring in. The most remarkable change Alex witnessed was the power of community coming together. Inspired by his story, neighbors began working collectively to make their area safer and more resilient. They cleared brush, installed fire-resistant landscaping, and created evacuation plans. Firefighters joined these efforts, offering training sessions and advice. One of the most touching moments for Alex came when a group of kids from the local high school approached him. They had heard his story and wanted to help. Together, they started a youth-led initiative to raise awareness about fire safety and environmental conservation. Seeing the younger generation take action filled Alex with hope. The community's efforts didn't stop with prevention. They also focused on rebuilding connections that had been lost. Block parties, volunteer events, and shared projects brought people closer, breaking down barriers and fostering a sense of belonging. Alex saw firsthand how unity could transform not just a neighborhood, but the people within it. As Alex continued to share his story, he noticed a shift in how people responded. What started as skepticism turned into curiosity, then commitment. The warning about Los Angeles wildfires wasn't just a cautionary tale, it became a catalyst for change. People began to understand that they had the power to shape the future, and that their actions mattered. Alex often ended his talks with the same message. What I saw was terrifying, but it wasn't the end. It was a chance to begin again, to choose a different path. We have the power to prevent destruction, to heal the earth, and to build a better world. It starts with us, each of us, every day. He wasn't trying to be a hero or a prophet. He was simply a man who had been given a glimpse of what could be and felt a responsibility to share it. The vision wasn't just for him, it was for everyone.